Greetings. In this rather troubled world, I started reading and reflecting on the concepts of love and power. The idea came to me because I was reading a wonderful book called Conversion. It's an old book now by Malcolm Muggeridge. And at one stage, he quotes an inscription in the Libyan desert. And he essentially talks about the captain of a legion of Rome who says, I've learned two things. There are two things to be sought, love and power, and you can't have both. That's pretty profound and very difficult. You can't have both. And yet, I want to quote a few things from Man's Search for Meaning because, as Frankl says about his own journey in the concentration camps, he can remember people who walked through giving away their last piece of bread. There weren't lots of them. They were few in number, but they showed the last of human freedoms, the capacity to choose an attitude. And there are so many people in this world at the moment who have nothing left but what to choose for an attitude. Are we perfect? No, because at one stage in that same book, Frankl says very strongly, we who've come back, we know, and he was one of them, the best of us did not return. So love or power? In that same book, Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl begins to think about his wife as he's working. And his thoughts of his wife come to mind. And he begins to imagine and understand for the first time, as he said, he saw the truth that love's the ultimate and highest goal in this life. And eventually he says, I finally worked out the salvation of man, I'm sorry for the gender issue, but the salvation of us all is through love and in love. Now, the great religions, to their credit, have often focused on love when they're at their best, and have sometimes focused on power when they're at their worst. And the same would be true for our political leaders. Love and care for people when they're at their best, and power when they're at their worst. And we have choices. We can go one way or the other. We can feel guilty because we chose one or the other. A collective guilt. Should we be able to say the Israelis or the Iranians or the Russians or the Ukrainians or those in power in Myanmar or indeed those fighting in the Sudan? Should we be able to just bracket them and say that's a group? A conversation with Viktor Frankl talks about collective guilt.
Today it's called simply collective guilt. And I've been strictly fighting against this concept of collective guilt, believe me, since the first day after the liberation of the last concentration camp in which I had been imprisoned. Guilt is an absolutely personal concept. Guilt always pertains and refers to one person. I'm accountable, I'm responsible for what I have done or what I have failed to do, but never for anything that what I have not done, but someone else has done or omitted to do, even if it was my father or my grandmother or anyone else. So this is an absolutely unethical concept, and against this I've always taken a stand.
Always take a stand against collective guilt. We cannot blanket a whole population, even a whole cabinet or a whole presidential or whatever advisory group with collective guilt. Each of us has a choice. But what happens if we fail to make those choices?
Socialists, I remember I said, have brought up the concept of racism. But believe me, I told this huge audience, there are, as I think there exist only two races between quotation marks. That is the race of decent people and the race of indecent people. And the border, wait a minute, the line, the separating line goes across all races, all nations. No nation is exempted. In principle, each nation is capable sooner or later to come up with another Holocaust or with other collective guilt concepts. No, there is no group, even no political group, that solely consists of decent individuals or solely of criminals or indecent people.
So we have a choice, even in our own country. Love or power? Grouping whole populations together, or realizing that each individual stands alone. It's up to us. Thank you for listening.